Hi everybody, it's Zeraldo here. Today I'm going to be showing you the ins and outs of the Deathknight class, which is one of the newer classes in the game. It's a decent class, it's got some interesting things, but it's not a class that I particularly like. The Deathknight class is available from the Doomwood rep store and was released at the end of Doomwood Chapter 2. It's a member-only class, so as it's suggested, you need to be a member to actually be able to use it. You just get it from the rep shop, and you have the choice between getting rank 10 Doomwood, which takes a while but isn't too hard seeing as Doomwood now has 2 chapters and paying 50,000 gold, or going the cheap, well not cheap, but the easy way of buying it instantly for 2,000 adventure coins, which is a bit pricey, especially in my opinion, considering you can earn the class by itself. And since it's not the greatest class, it's probably not worth that 2,000 adventure coin price tag. So here you have it. This is where you get it, and you've got a bit of a choice as to how you get it. As always, once you have your new class, you need to figure out the best way to enhance it. Now, Deathknight isn't exactly clear-cut. Like most classes, it does benefit from a bit of extra luck for crits and those other little boosts to the other stats. However, when you look at Deathknight, you've got to take into account that all of its moves are physical, save for the last one. Now, this depends on how you actually want to use this last move, and I'll get into that later when I actually do the breakdown of the moves. But because it's only got one magical move, you want to look at a predominantly physical set of enhancements for the class. It's quite damage oriented. You can take a look at the passives over here. It's going for increased strength by 12% and increased crit. So luck would definitely benefit the class, and a good fighter enhancement would, as it is quite a powerful class in raw damage. It's the moves that are a bit of a letdown. The major thing you need to know about the Deathknight class is that it has a major focus on damage over time effects, to the extent where the first 3 moves are actually damage over time, which are actually quite nice because in this class the damage over time does regenerate mana, and the last move not being damage over time but a heal over time, so it follows that same sort of pattern. The first move, Chilling Strike, has a 5-second cooldown with a 5 mana cost. It's a physical strike, despite the fact that it doesn't actually have a strike per se. It's just an effect that's nice. You know, like other classes with this sort of thing, you've actually got a hit and then you miss, you sometimes lose the stack. Whereas this, it's automatically applied and it causes a small but reasonable damage over time, which increases the more times you strike it. The downside is it's 5 seconds for cooldown, so that takes about 25 to 30 seconds to fully affect, and because the moves all absorb all the stacks, you've really got to pick which move carefully, so that's up to you whether you want to actually, waste all 5 stacks on one move or get about 2 or 3 and move between the moves. I think the class would have been a bit better if it was a 4-second or maybe even a 3-second cooldown, but it's just too bad. This is how it is. The second move is called Frostfang. It's 15 mana and it is an 8-second cooldown. It applies a damage over time as well, but this damage over time has another effect. It actually slows the attack speed of your enemy, more so for each stack of Death's Chill you have. So if you do this right, you'll be having 2 damage over times on it and not being attacked as much. So it's quite nice. It doesn't extremely slow down your enemy's attack speed, but it goes to help, and when you see that's between the 2 damage over times, that's virtually a second attack you've got going. So it is nice. But it does absorb all the stacks, so you want to know whether you're using it right or not. The third move, Death Grip, 25 mana and 18-second cooldown, is a physical strike also, just like the first 2 moves. It's the powerful strike that you just use on your enemy. Now, as well as that, it actually causes your enemies to do less damage, and the amount of damage they do is further decreased by every stack of Death's Chill you have. So once again, you're seeing the importance, but you're also seeing that you've really got to choose where Death's Chill goes wisely. So I lost count of how many I have. I'm assuming I've got about 3 or 4. Yeah, but it's a decent strike. It's not like phenomenal strikes like Vindicator of Day or anything, but it's a nice strike, and it does add damage over time when or if it hits. Now you see, I missed, and what this points out is the annoyance that the stacking is actually on the enemies and not on you, so you can't carry on your stack to the next enemy. Chronomancer, its stack is based around you, and so if you have damaged an enemy, or if you got the stack up on the enemy, you can take it on to the next and use it there or continue, which is nice. But this, you're limited to one enemy, which sort of diminishes its capability as a farming class. So here we go. You're kidding me, I've missed again. You're starting to see some of the drawbacks of Deathknight, the unreliability it has. These enemies have more health, so we'll go with them. Yeah, the unreliability. And I mean, yeah, activates its damage over time. Large attack. So there you go. 700 non-crit death grip. It's got 2 damage over times, and it's doing a fair amount. The final move, Death Shroud. It's a mixed bag. It is useful as a heal, and it's pretty powerful. What it does, it's a heal over time, and it does it 3 times. And the heal is based on how many strikes of the first move, how many stacks you have. The drawbacks are quite big though. It's 30 MP, it's 20-second cooldown, and it's magical. So this is where you go, do I actually want to give up a bit of the offensive, which is something that this class does have a bit of. Do I want to give up offensive for a better heal? Now, the problem is, with this, you give up your attack speed, and you give up your attack damage, and you give up your chance to crit, or the damage of crit, or something like that. You give up. Now, as you can see, it's actually a potent heal, so you can heal 900, 1000 with this thing. You take less damage as well, but you lose attack speed and stuff, and that can be frustrating, especially when you're trying to farm. So, in a sense, you're actually better off using these first 2 moves with the stacks rather than trying to heal. Yeah, the other one thing I did forget to mention about Death Grip is that it does have a chance, and it's only a chance, it's not guaranteed, for a 6-second stun. Now, it's not something to rely on, but it's still a nice little bonus that does happen from time to time. The final thing to be aware of is that this class does have a rank 10 passive, which I cannot remember its name, but it's the same thing that a lot of these classes have these days. It's just massive damage. How would I recommend to use this class? Basically, I'd say just attack your enemy with maybe 1 or 2 chilling strikes, get Death Grip and Frost Fang on as soon as possible for those extra damage over times. And once you've got your damage over time, then build up stacks for increased damage and increased debuffs on them. So as you can see, Deathknight's really not the most glamorous class out there, but it does work. I find that situationally, it's actually better for a boss battle where you can really get some of these damage over times going. That said, it's not the greatest at healing itself, and you don't want to sacrifice your outgoing damage. So you're best to have a healer or someone with a healing move in the party. But it's not the greatest farming class, and it's not the greatest... well, not the greatest class in general. But the damage over time is something interesting, and I think they've done a reasonable job with it. For PvP, I'd pretty much recommend the exact same way as using it on monsters. Try and get the first 2 damage over times eating away at your opponent's health, then stack, and if necessary, use the final move as a heal and to reduce your damage. And that it's really not the best idea, but if you have to, I mean, there's always the alternative of bringing a healing potion or a dodge potion, which should help. Yeah, just remember to be aware that you can put in some luck or maybe a bit of magic to increase that heal. can be pretty potent, because what you saw 300 was with no additional intellect. Um, yeah, so it's not a class I would bring to PvP myself. Um, Overall, the damage over time theme, they've done a good job with it, but it's just not as fun as it should be, and it just feels a bit bland. The idea of a Death Knight, you think of a lot of raw power and darkness and intrigue. It's just a damage over time sort of thing. It's like, yeah, I guess a mix between rogue and warrior with the damage over time and the raw power. Um, Not my favorite class out there, but hey, it works, and if it floats your boat, that's good for you. Um, I do think it's dissed a bit more than it should be, but it's not my personal favorite. Um, so yeah, that basically sums up the review. I hope you've enjoyed it. Now I'm AFK. That's no indication of how I feel about this video. If you like the video, please like it, or subscribe, or leave a comment with ideas or feedback. Just, yeah, and hopefully I'll see you again. Basically now, because we have no idea when Darkcaster is really coming, I will do Darkcaster as soon as I can. If Darkcaster's not out next weekend, I'll do a Chrono Corruptor one, a Chrono Corruptor guide to continue with the whole theme of the span and time. So yeah, hope to see you guys again soon, and hope you're enjoying the videos. Bye for now.